So today I just want to do a quick reaction video to this poll that I found on the Straits Times Facebook, which says most in Singapore prefer working from home. But before that, I just want to say that something really unfortunate happened this week. The MRT train broke down again. So it looks like everything is getting back to normal, including the train delays. I was honestly surprised that happened, and I think it's really unfortunate because I thought that MRT would repair the trains and upgrade the systems during the entire of last year when there were not a lot of people traveling on the trains. But then it just so happened again that maybe on this week when people started to go back to the office, the trains couldn't handle the load, and for some reason it broke down again. But this point is relevant because the first question, why people prefer work from home, is because they want to save time and money by not commuting and eating out. Well, commuting obviously is for a good reason, that we just want to avoid, squeezing in the squeezy trains and loads of people. And when trains break down like this week, right, it's obviously going to cost time and money and a lot of frustration. And more importantly, it might cause a risk of community infections when lots of people are gathering. Personally, I live quite far from the office that I work in, so I take about 1 hour to commute back and forth, which is kind of the average in Singapore. But I do feel that having this 1 hour back and forth, which is 2 hours a day, can go productively into other things, and also for eating out. I think it's quite significant because when you eat out, you have to go for Thai fan or the restaurants or the cafes outside. I don't know whether this is true, so I'm actually going to do an experiment comparing the cost of how much I buy the food at home, because I cook almost every day, versus how much I actually spend outside going to my go-to places, because I am quite a picky eater, so I watch what I eat, and outside as well I pick what I like to eat. So I will do a video comparison between the two, so if you'd like to be notified when the video is ready, do hit subscribe and you'll be the first to know. Okay, so the second reason why people prefer to stay at home is because 28.2% of people prefer to work from home because they feel more productive doing so. Now I can imagine that this can be true because in the office you got lots of people walking by, and the people on your left or right can just come up to you randomly and ask you some questions. But at home, we have our own fair share of distractions, but it is at least more so within our control to block out any distractions, like closing the doors, closing the windows, turning on the aircon if we need to. There are some running costs of doing so. I think most of us would have already upgraded our home systems to either getting a microphone or getting a speaker or getting an extra monitor just so that we can work more productively at home. And one more barrier to productivity is the need to wear a mask in the office unless we're eating. And in the office, it can get quite uncomfortable to do that. Personally, I prefer to work from home for one of these main reasons. And because of long hours of wearing the mask, it hurts my ears behind a little bit. And to some extent, I think that working from home would give us an extra incentive to complete work more quickly, because obviously we log in on time, and so we can complete everything that we need to do and log off on time. As long as work can be done, I think that there probably wouldn't be a need to go to office. And sometimes all the chatter, banter, and all these kind of small talks may take up time, which can actually go into doing the actual work, lifting the actual numbers in the spreadsheets, or replying to that actual email. So personally, I do believe that as long as work can be done, I don't care whether you work in the North Pole or in the South Pole or in Malaysia or in Indonesia, as long as it is done, just get it done. But then there is a common concern that if you can work from home, then companies can just hire anyone around the world to work for them, right? Because they are remotely located anywhere in the world and they are just connected via the internet. I think there's a caveat to this, that there are still local employment laws that companies need to follow, meaning if you want to hire someone overseas to do that, then technically you're hiring a foreigner to work for your company, not a local anymore. And there are rules and regulations about that. There are foreigner quotas, local quotas, and all kind of stuff, without fear of losing their job to foreigners out there. Another piece of news that came out a few days later is this, where it says Singapore public servants to work 3 days in office and 2 days at home as COVID-19 rules ease. So the government is basically encouraging public servants to come back to office and shift from the work from home default model to this hybrid work from office/home. And so I feel that this move is kind of like to jumpstart the economy again, just so that we get more footfall in property. Office rentals are not completely empty. There's been some recent news of companies moving out of offices as well. And yes, although we can get work done at home, but I think we have to be fair to acknowledge that there are still some instances where some meetings might be more productive face-to-face. For example, I recently moved into a new project and I don't know anything about it, and there is another guy who is my buddy and he knows quite a lot about the project. So definitely I think that having that face-to-face meetups with him, be it over lunch or be it just over some casual pantry tea breaks, can help me to speed up the knowledge transfer and get me up to speed with the project. It's still possible to just do calls over the internet, but I think that having in person is better, because I think learning gets better when we have the visual and we have the audio as well, and we more importantly have something that we can use our hands to illustrate what we mean. And our bodies communicate a lot more signals in person compared to just calls or even just sharing screen. I think that can be quite inconvenient at times. But with that being said, I think some bosses may still have some insecurities of not being able to see their employees in the office, and even though work is being done, they may think that at the back of their mind that they might be skiving or they might be doing other stuff at home, or they might not be, for whatever reason, they just feel more assured to just see them in office working. But I don't really subscribe to that kind of mentality. I think those could be a little bit of a backward thinking, and maybe there are some trust issues there as well. Okay, so with that being said, let's look at the other side of the population, the 25% of people who want to go back, and the number one reason is because they miss their colleagues. I don't know whether the respondents are the younger generation or the older generation people, but my sense is that those people who miss their colleagues are the baby boomers or the mid-managers who prefer to work face-to-face, or maybe they just love the office banter and chatter. And then the second leading reason is that they feel more efficient at the workplace. I can understand some of the concerns where I just heard somebody told me also that they couldn't work from home because, you know, there's too many distractions, or even there's the bed there, and every time they see the bed they feel like sleeping. Most people who answer these questions are managers or senior company directors. I think they mostly deal with people and they work with people, and they talk about multi-million-dollar deals and policies and things that can impact lots and lots and lots of people. So I think such deals are more effective to be done over face-to-face, because we can read each other with our facial interactions and our body language, and I think that helps to build rapport and to also negotiate a deal, especially when it's very difficult to do so over the call. At most, you only have the audio elements of it and you have the video, which is a very low resolution view of that person. But then in face-to-face, you get the highest resolution of it. You can more easily convince the person on the other side of the deal to join your calls. So I can understand why that they feel more efficient in the workplace for this reason. But at least for my level, I actually still can just do my work through Excel spreadsheets, lifting some numbers, sending some emails, and only just a small minority of the time I feel would be more efficient to do so in a workplace, when you probably want to explain something really, really complicated and complex that is probably easier to do so in person, drawing on a whiteboard or something like that. Okay, so for those people who want to go back to the office, most people want to go back 2 days a week. Okay, so I think that's kind of fair and aligned with the general sentiment of this hybrid work model. You can work very productively at home, just focusing on the work alone, and then for the 2 days of coming back to office, you actually present your work. And I think that helps, because in office you can do so, you can communicate your message more eloquently in person. And for some team bonding events, I think that helps also, especially where one-to-one meetings with your managers are so important to build rapport, to build understanding, that probably wouldn't be so effective over the phone. Small minority of people, like 6.9% or 7% of that 25% of people, which works out to be roughly 2% of people, want to go back to office every single day. I assume that they have difficulties at home where, you know, for some reason their kids are always disturbing them while they're working, or their home setup is just totally unproductive and cannot work from home, or maybe they just want to save on air conditioning bills, right? They just want to on an aircon all day long, because in the office there's like free aircon, maybe there's like free pantry snacks, or there's like free computer, you don't have, and you can just save on electricity. But then again, you still have to spend on eating out, and you still have to spend on commute and all that kind of stuff. I think for some people, they prefer to just work in the office for whatever reason. Maybe the offices are extremely nice. But fair enough, I think that ultimately the main message is that nobody should feel obligated to go back to office even when they are asked to do so, because I think for safety reason, we mustn't be complacent. And we know that COVID-19, the virus, is still within our shores. We still see a handful of cases coming up per week, sometimes 1, sometimes 10. If we are not careful, the virus may spread. I think we should own the responsibility of whether we want to go back to office or not. This is entirely my personal view, because when we go out, we mingle with people, we take the public transport with people that we don't know, and we don't want to endanger ourselves. Neither do we want to also endanger the people around us, like our family or the people or our close friends. I know that vaccinations are ongoing. The older generation of people are getting their vaccinations first, but vaccination doesn't mean that you are totally immune to COVID-19. And so I think that work from home is great, work from office is great as well. I think we need to build a culture where people can choose where they want to work, whether it's in office or whether it's at home, and the entire team can do so, can meet their team objectives very productively. Both we as employees and employers have the responsibility to create a high trust environment where this can happen. So I hope that you find this message meaningful. If you'd like to see more videos of corporate life and career tips, which I'm giving out in the next few videos, consider subscribing, and I hope to see you in my next video.